What's up, guys? This is Chris with MajorHifi, and today I have the honor of getting to be one of the first to review Final Audio's A5000 IEM. So the A5000 is Final Audio's most recent addition to their A series of IEMs, and I'll be going over some of the technical design, what they look like, what they feel like, and most importantly, what they sound like. So stick around if you want to hear why I gave this a MajorHifi Silver and overall why I was very impressed with my time spent with the A5000. Likely the first thing worth noting about the A5000's technical design is its inclusion of Final Audio's signature in-house developed F-Chord Do 6mm dynamic driver, which has seen some new design updates in the diaphragm, voice coil, magnetic circuit, and adhesives. Brass is used in the driver's front housing, which is less affected by magnetic force than more commonly used general aluminum. Response time has seen an improvement thanks to ultra-fine and lightweight materials used in the voice coil, which was assembled using a minimal amount of adhesive to reduce the weight of moving parts. Also worth the mention is the uniformity of the dynamic driver's diaphragm, which Final Audio claims results in a distortion-free listening experience. A new soft silver-coated cable is another upgrade from the A4000 that the A5000 has seen. This might be a relief to some of those who complained about the stiff cable that was included with the A4000. Now, let's see what you get in the box. There's your A5000 IEMs, as I would hope, and a soft silver-coated cable with a 3.5mm jack, a unique soft rubbery carrying case, 5 pairs of Final Audio Type E silicone tips, and a pair of ear hooks, optional for the fit. So, as far as look is concerned, I don't really have much to say. You know, they look nice, they look discreet. They have this Shibo finish on them. This is something that I've seen on Final Audio products from the D8000 Pro to the Z3000 and Z2000. So, not at all an unfamiliar look from the company. It's a very similar sort of shape where it has, it's very angular, has this top part that like slants back a bit. So yeah, as far as look goes, they look nice enough. They're pretty discreet, pretty subtle, but also kind of chic in a straightforward sort of way. As far as feel is concerned, these are really, really comfortable, very, very lightweight. They come in at 28 grams. And I found that once I got them into my ear, which was very easy to do, it was a matter of just setting and forgetting. Once they were in, they were in. These come with ear hooks. I didn't feel a need for them. I think these fit very well without the ear hooks. Nice for Final Audio to include them, I guess. Also, this shape that they have, I think, really contributes to a really nice passive isolation. They also go, I would say, fairly deep into the ear. Not very deep, but it's not a shallow fit. So yeah, overall, I was a very big fan of how these fit. They were very easy, very casual. So as far as soundstage and imaging is concerned, usually when I'm reviewing IEMs under $300, I'm pretty ready to be forgiving of, maybe not the widest soundstage or, flat imaging that kind of comes across linearly. But there's very little that I have to forgive with the A5000. I think that the imaging on these is maybe one of the most impressive features, especially coming from an IEM that's under $300. There's a really nice sense of depth that I got out of these. They also provide like really nice angular characters. There's a really nice spatial separation going on. And I think that separation is further aided by just a really nice, clean balance, but I'll get into that in a second. So on top of having a really nice depth to them, I thought they also had a very impressive soundstage. It's forward facing, and I would say it's basically a perfect 180 degree angle. Really intense pans, felt like it was right next to my ear. So wide soundstage, fairly deep imaging. I even got like a sense of height out of these. I would say on wide mixes that had, mono vocal parts, those vocal parts, felt like they were coming from like behind my forehead, which is, a pretty ideal thing to see with imaging. And on top of that, they also felt like they were a little bit above me. So that's something I generally don't expect from IEMs that are going for $280, and I'm very impressed with the imaging, to say the least. I think there are a lot of people that are going to fall in love with the low end on these, and I certainly did as well. What I personally really like about this low end is it's dramatic, and it's also not too wide, and it happens pretty early on. So there was definitely a noticeable sub bass presence on these, and more noticeable than that was mid bass, but the subs are definitely present there, and you definitely feel them. And even though it's emphasizing those really deep frequencies, let's say 20 to 100 hertz, it manages to maintain a really, really clean balance. It doesn't intrude into that high bass, low mids territory like a lot of IEMs going for a deep, heavy sound signature do. It's very well controlled, and it's kind of like when it kicks in, it surprises you in the context of the rest of the sound character that you're hearing, which overall I would describe as like really clean and really airy, and then the subs and the mid bass kick in, and it's impressive. It leaves an impression on you, and they maintain a really high sense of detail. Something specific that I really liked about this low end as well was the low end detail on it. I feel like there are a lot of IEMs that boost mid bass, but you kind of end up losing details on it. Where basses kind of end up sounding more like a fat, like nondescript, like sine wave or something like that. That wasn't the case with this. It was like I could hear the really distinct like low end timbres of electric basses or synth basses or anything like that. The low end on these and the way that the low end sits in the balance very powerfully, but also almost on like a separate layer from everything else, kind of reminds me of the IE600 from Sennheiser. And I would even say that the A5000, while I was listening to it, I had the thought a few times that this is kind of like a economic version of the IE600. It gets you pretty close to that really clean, but also, pretty bass heavy sound signature. Now, I would describe the center frequency profile on these as somewhat V-shaped, not quite V-shaped, but something like it. So it's pretty flat, pretty balanced in the low mids, which is something I'm very grateful for. I'm seldom really into an IEM or a headphone that's putting too much stock into the low mids. So I really like to hear just that nice, flat, balanced sound in the low mids. Has a lot of emphasis in the high mids, and then it scoops some of the center mids. And I basically have nothing but nice things to say for the A5000, but I think that maybe my only criticism for it is that center mid scoop, on the one hand, I think does contribute to keeping the balance really clean, keeping parts sounding very separate from one another. But on the other hand, I felt like there was something just a little lost in some male vocals, and also sometimes with acoustic guitar, where there wasn't quite that like forceful drive present in vocals. Like I was listening to Fleet Foxes, and Robert Pecknold, the lead singer, has really like a belting voice, and it lost a little bit of power. It's not that it's losing vocal fundamentals, and it's definitely not losing fry. I actually think that how it handles vocal fry, it brings that up and it sounds really crisp. But I think that there's something between fundamental and fry that's just that driving frequency in vocals, that in male vocals at least, that wasn't quite there as much as I would want it to be. But that being said, I don't want to overemphasize that point, because I do really like the mids profile on this. I thought it handled like more feminine vocals really, really well. The way that the high mids are boosted, like I said before, they bring out this more like fry quality to vocals. They also bring up some of the, like high mid, like drive and shimmer in acoustic guitars. I also thought electric guitars had a really nice balance between their like lower fundamentals and also their like crunchy distortion. So occasional issues that I had with masculine vocals aside, I nonetheless like the mids profile, even if it's the source of my one singular criticism, basically. And then as far as the high end goes, I think that this is something that in general Final Audio does a really good job with. I would say consistently across their releases, at least their IEM releases. Usually there's a really nice, airy timbre to the higher frequencies, and that's no different for the A5000. It's not going to sound unfamiliar to anybody who's familiar with Final Audio. It just has this very fresh, crisp, more than anything, just airy sound to it that applies to vocals. It gives cymbals like a really nice, like tappy, sandy sort of character. And I think that what's really cool about it is it sits on a separate level, like a very distinctly separate level from the really intense low frequencies that you hear on this. So you have this really nice contrast that pair very well together, but they don't compete with one another. It's kind of like, I would say the high end kind of lays this bed for the low end to come in and like smash through. And I think it's this very delicate high end balance that makes the power of the low end so striking. So I really like to see that when there's like a very like artistic synergy between, opposite parts of the balance. So I'll use an example for why I like these so much. So, I mentioned the IE600, and I do think there's something about the IE series of IEMs from Sennheiser. They do sound different from this, but there's a certain principle that's similar, which I would just describe as having a very clean balance, but then also a very powerful and impactful bass that doesn't that isn't competing or muddying up the rest of the sound signature, and that sounds kind of separate from the rest of it. And I would say that the IE900 goes for I think close to $1,500. It's something like that, and you can get the IE600 for $700, which I would say gets you like 85% of the way to the IE900. And then honestly, I would then say, or you can get the A5000 from Final Audio, which gets you 85 to 90% of the way to the IE600. So you can do the math on that, but I think that these get you very, very close to some very high quality and much more expensive IEMs. These honestly blow a lot of the competition out of the water, in my opinion. I think there's something in it for bass heads of a certain variety. And I think that these are also very appealing to people who like a lot of treble in their balances. One more thing I want to mention about the treble is I didn't think it really extended very far. It's not like you're hearing boosts, well into, 15 kilohertz or anything like that. But it's still a really dominant quality besides it not being the most extended sound. And I'm just mentioning that not because it was something that I wish there was more of. I think that the high-end balance is really good as it is. I just thought I should clarify that when I'm calling these trebly IEMs. There is a lot of treble boost. It's just not the most extended treble. It's it's pretty average extension, I would say, but just done very, very well. There wasn't really any harshness that I could make out with these. I didn't think sibilants were a problem. There really wasn't a point with these where I felt like they had any like unpleasant character, on either end of the frequency spectrum. Never found them muddy, never found them harsh. They're not flatly balanced either. They still have that really distinct character of super airy highs and really dense and tight and detailed lows, but they're just extremely well balanced, I think, in just every regard except for the little road bump, I guess, that I came across with the center mids. But, I don't want to overemphasize that too much because overall I loved these. I think these are a super high value IEM. Definitely on par with IEMs that are twice the price. And I'm not just saying that, hyperbolically. I really do mean that. And in short, that's why I'm definitely giving the Final Audio A5000 the MajorHifi Silver. So anyway, this is Chris with MajorHifi. If you want to see more videos like this, remember to like and subscribe below. I'm also putting the promo code Chris10 down below, which will get you 10% off an order from Audio 46 when you apply it at checkout. I'm going to put a link to the A5000 from the Audio 46 online store down below as well. And yeah, I'll see you next time, and thanks for watching.